On May 12, 2018, Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster was open to the public. This made history as the first modern single rail coaster to come into the coaster industry and the first of the RMC Raptors. This was revolutionary for the industry. We have never seen a true thrill single rail coaster come to any park. And coaster enthusiasts at this time thought that this would instantly catch on and we would see them at every single park. Enter 2024, and we have seen a whopping 5 Raptors come to the industry with one under construction. The RMC Raptor model has been decently successful in the short time period, however, something else interesting has happened. In 2021, Big Dipper at Luna Park down in Australia opened to the public. This ride was an Intamin hot racer, otherwise known as an RMC Raptor knockoff. Okay, maybe that's a little harsh as the ride features a launch instead of a lift and a very different layout. Maybe it just took inspiration from the RMC Raptor. This ride has also been decently successful with 2 installations from 2021 to 2024. Fast forward yet again to 2024 and SNS has announced their version of their single rail coaster called the Rail Rider. The Rail Rider is sort of a mix between the old steeplechase coasters and the RMC Raptors, but geared towards families. The ride itself looks very interesting, so we have yet again another player in the single rail coaster market. But wait, there's more. Even smaller companies have tried their hand at the single rail coaster. Skyline Attractions released their Skywarp model, which let's just say didn't go great, however their newer one looks much better. And then they released their Spaghetti Bowl coaster, which is already decently successful with 2 installations. And then Extreme Engineering released their Cloud Coaster model, which is technically a single rail coaster, and it is technically a coaster even though it looks like a zip line, which surprisingly, this has been one of the most successful single rail coasters out there, only second to RMC. So what does this tell us? Well, a bunch of companies went in on this single rail action. In all honesty, it looks like the single rail coaster thing is kind of a fad. Every company is just jumping into it with their slight changes and marketing it as their own. But hey, I am here for it. So with all these companies jumping into the single rail coaster market pool, what is the future going to look like? Which companies are going to prevail, and what new rides are we going to see in the form of a single rail coaster? First, we're going to look at RMC. RMC has already been decently successful with their RMC Raptors. However, the burning question in everyone's mind is the RMC T-Rex going to eventually happen? And if so, when? This is a tricky one to try and predict, as the RMC T-Rex might have been shelved, it might be in this sort of limbo state, we don't really know. However, I would say that it's probably not going to happen for at least 5 years. I don't think we will see an RMC T-Rex announcement for quite a while, and that's simply because of the cost of research and development for this thing. If you know anything about the RMC T-Rex, it's supposed to be massive. It would have the capability to be built over 500 feet, and that is pretty awesome. But with big record-breaking things like that comes a lot of consequences. First of all, they're going to need to sell it to a park that would have enough money to build such a gigantic ride. And honestly, the market for that isn't huge right now, especially because parks are still to this day recovering from the pandemic. So as of now, I'd say it's probably a no for the RMC T-Rex. We're not going to be seeing anything 400, 500 feet for quite a while. That is, unless Six Flags Qiddiya wants another one. Now with all that, I still think there is hope for a new single rail from RMC. What RMC really needs is a model to bridge the gap between the Raptor and the T-Rex. I'm talking about something in the middle. Something that would reach medium height, still pretty tall, but can maybe be built a little bigger than the Raptors, but more importantly, have better capacity. I'm talking about either 2 across seating or that wing style seating on the track. If all these companies keep selling their single rail coasters, it's going to make RMC have to do their own single rail again. Either they can upgrade the Raptor by either adding launches to it or other cool features, or they could do a new model. I'm talking about this new medium-sized one, maybe called the Triceratops or something. Okay, fine, that's a horrible name, don't call it that. I've also thought it would be pretty cool to see an inverted single rail sometime in the future. Now, I know the Cloud Coasters are technically an inverted single rail, but I'm talking about an inverted thrill coaster like the RMC Raptor prototypes. That would be pretty cool to see, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Side note, if that actually happens, they should name it the Pterodactyl. That would be pretty cool. Anyways, now let's get into Intamins. What is the future of their single rail model going to look like? So far, we have only seen one hot racer with one currently under construction. I think these hot racers have a lot of potential. First off, the restraints look much better than the RMC version, and I think just because of Intamin's pure presence in the global theme park industry, we could be seeing a lot more of these pop up in the near future. Now, the one coming to Wallaby next year isn't gigantic, however, that just means there's room to grow. I really wonder what the limits are of how tall this model could possibly be built. Remember when I talked about RMC wanting to do a middle model, maybe something in between the Raptor and the T-Rex? Well, if RMC doesn't do it, Intamin definitely will. One of these two companies is going to produce a higher capacity Raptor in the near future. I would almost bet on it. So we have RMC and Intamin trying to tackle the thrill coaster market in this regard. Now, Skyline Attractions also tried to tackle the thrill coaster single rail market, but it didn't really work as the Skywarps didn't turn out great. Skyline's hand is instead in a different market, and that is the family coaster one. The Spaghetti Bowl coasters look awesome, and I think they're going to be a huge hit at parks across the country. We saw our first ones with the Six Flags editions, and I would dare say we will probably see more. Just the lighting package alone on these things is awesome, so I would be very surprised if we don't see more of these. I don't really know what other models they could do besides the spaghetti coaster. I think they could do different variations, but I think Skyline found something that works and they're going to stick with it. Don't expect to see a new Thrill Skyline one coming anytime soon, because if I was a park, I wouldn't really want to buy one after the whole Tidal Twister and Harley Quinn thing didn't work out at all. Now we're at possibly the most interesting one, the S&S Rail Rider. How is this thing going to work? I don't really know what market they are trying to go for here. It looks like a revived version of the Steeplechase. So if a park had a Steeplechase in the olden days and they want to add a new one, they could possibly go for this. Other than that, I don't know who their target market is going to be. The capacity is horrible on this thing, but I think S&S probably knows what they're doing. I'm not sure why they made this, but if they made it, they definitely think that they can sell it, so I'm gonna trust them on this. S&S is pretty reliable in those regards. You have to remember they make the Scream and Swing, and that sells everywhere. They also did the free spins, which sold like crazy, so I'm not too worried. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a park that would invest in one of these yet, but I'm really curious to see which one does. I hope I'm wrong on this. I want to see these everywhere because they look pretty cool, especially the option with only a seatbelt. But we'll just have to wait and see. If you've made it this far into the video, congrats. You have now reached the part of the video where we talk about something a bit strange, and this is going to be, do single rail coasters even exist? Yeah, you heard me right. I'm going to tell you why single rail coasters might not even exist. And it's your job to tell me why I'm wrong. Okay, so first things first, let's take a look at this photo. This is of an RMC Raptor. And as you can see, it is one single rail. Kind of. You could theoretically make the argument that it's really not. You still have two wheel chassis on both sides. And honestly, what's the difference between this and then a B&M track that was just welded together with like a plate on top? Honestly, not much. Now let's look at the Intamin Hot Racer. As you can see, we have two rails. You can see that they're circular on the side of the track. I consider those to be rails. So, like I mentioned, what's the difference between that and then just removing the plate thing? It's merely an aesthetic choice. Now if you look at the S&S Rail Rider or even a Mauer Spike Coaster, you still have two rails, a top rail and a bottom rail. So what's going on here? Where did the whole single rail thing come from? Well, the answer to that is, and always will be, marketing. The single rail coasters look really cool. and it may not be truly like revolutionary, but they're awesome to look at, so I totally support it. Now, if you want to know what I consider to be a true single rail coaster, it would be this random ride in South Africa called Long Tom Toboggan at Misty Mountain or something. Whatever. It looks real janky, but hey, look, it has only one rail. But in all seriousness, who cares? The Raptors, the Heart Racers, and the Spaghetti Coaster are all awesome, so I'm not worried about the technical, and you shouldn't be either, but I just wanted to throw that out there. So, if you've lasted this long in the video, you guys truly rock. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Now, I really want to hear your comments, especially about that last part that I did. What do you consider to be a true single rail coaster? I mean, it's a pretty open debate, and I'm excited to hear you guys' thoughts. And the one final thing I'm going to mention is if you haven't completed the Iron Gwazi vs Velocicoaster Mega Survey, time is running out. In only a few days, I'm going to be pulling the survey down and taking a look at the results. So please complete that. It would really mean a lot to me. So you guys are awesome. This is the Coaster Josh, signing out.